Picture a massive iron crucible, bubbling with white-hot heat. Into this liquid fire goes the crown of Elizabeth I, its pearls scorched, its gold melting into a glowing soup, soon to be recast into a giant, ornate cross for a cathedral in Madrid. This isn't a dark fantasy. It was very nearly our reality. In the damp summer of 1588, the fate of the entire modern world hung on a single, fickle shift in the wind. If the Spanish Armada had succeeded, the English language you are listening to right now would have likely died in its cradle, replaced by the global tongue of a triumphant Spanish Empire. But if the Tudor dynasty fell, how could a conquered, broken people ever hope to strike back, and does a secret, forgotten remnant of Protestant England still survive in the shadows of this alternate world? To understand how close we came to this dark horizon, we have to look at the water. History tells us that Drake and his fireships scattered the Spanish fleet. But imagine a different Tuesday morning off the coast of Gravelines. The wind does not shift. The fireships, launched too late, drift harmlessly past the towering wooden walls of the Spanish galleons. The Armada holds its tight, crescent formation, their heavy brass cannons roaring through the salt fog. The English Navy, out of ammunition and out of luck, is forced to watch as the Spanish fleet links up with the Duke of Parma's waiting army in the Netherlands. Thousands of battle-hardened Spanish veterans, men who had spent decades conquering Europe, step onto the wet beaches of Kent. Let me ask you straight, if you were an English peasant standing on those cliffs, watching 30,000 foreign soldiers marching toward your home under the banner of the Red Cross, would you have picked up a pitchfork to die for a queen you had never seen? Or would you have quietly crossed yourself and prayed the conquerors spared your children? Tell me in the comments, stubborn loyalty, or raw survival? For the English leadership, there is no time to choose. The militia at Tilbury, whom Elizabeth had just rallied with her famous speech about having the heart of a king, is not a real army. They are shopkeepers and farmers with rusty pikes. When they clash with the disciplined Spanish tercios, it is not a battle. It is a slaughter. Within 4 days, the sound of Spanish drums echoes through the narrow, crowded streets of London. But Spain does not want to burn London to the ground. King Philip II wants a crown, not a pile of ashes. At first, there is a strange, tense peace. The Spanish soldiers are ordered not to pillage. Protestant citizens, terrified of the sword, stay behind locked doors. And for a moment, there is a flicker of hope. Queen Elizabeth escapes. She flees north, attempting to rally her remaining lords in the rugged hills of Yorkshire. The people whisper that the Tudor Rose will rise again, that a guerrilla war will drag the Spanish into a bloody quagmire. But the Spanish have a weapon far more devastating than muskets. They have Mary, Queen of Scots. Rescued from her English prison, Mary is crowned in Westminster Abbey. Instantly, the nation is torn in two. To the English Catholics who had practiced their faith in secret for decades, Mary is a savior. To the Protestants, she is an occupying puppet. The English identity fractures. Neighbors turn on neighbors, betraying secret chapels and hidden weapons to the newly arrived Spanish authorities. Elizabeth's northern rebellion is crushed not by Spanish soldiers, but by English Catholics eager to win favor with the new regime. By winter, Elizabeth is captured. Picture her standing on the scaffold inside the Tower of London, the cold wind whipping her red hair, looking down at a crowd of her own subjects who are too terrified to weep. With the stroke of an axe, the Tudor line is severed forever. England is now a vassal state of Rome, its wealth funneled to Spain, its young men drafted to fight Spain's endless European wars. But here is where our story takes a turn that the history books never dared to write. If you think a Spanish England means the end of global exploration, think again. Because across the grey, trackless wastes of the Atlantic, a tiny, forgotten outpost of English settlers is about to face a terrifying choice. Do you think the lost English colonists in the Americas would have surrendered to the Spanish Navy, or would they have vanished into the deep forests to start a secret, rogue nation? Drop your prediction right now, because wait until you see what happens when the Spanish Inquisition arrives on the shores of the New World. In the autumn of 1590, 3 Spanish galleons drop anchor off the coast of North Carolina. The soldiers on board carry muskets, chains, and the black banners of the Inquisition. Their mission is simple: find the illegal English colony of Roanoke and wipe the heretics off the map. But when the Spanish soldiers step onto the sandy shore, they find only silence. The wooden cabins are abandoned. The wind whistles through the empty storehouses. The only clue is a single word carved into a wooden post: Croton. The Spanish commanders assumed the settlers starved or were killed by the wilderness. They sail away, satisfied that the English threat in the New World is dead. But they are dead wrong. Warned of the Spanish sails by local tribes, the English settlers had packed up their muskets, their tools, and their English Bibles, and vanished into the deep forests of the Appalachian Mountains. Instead of dying out, they did something far more dangerous. They integrated. They married into the native tribes, creating a secret, syncretic society. Deep in the American wilderness, safe from Spanish steel, a bilingual, fiercely independent nation begins to grow. They speak a strange mix of Elizabethan English and Algonquin. They pray in secret. And they wait. For decades, this shadow nation serves as a beacon for escaped slaves, rebellious Dutch sailors, and English refugees fleeing the Catholic crown. It is a slow, burning fuse, buried deep in the heart of a Spanish continent. But while this hidden resistance grows in the New World, the Grand Spanish Empire back in Europe is about to face an enemy it cannot hang, burn, or shoot. But here is where the Grand Spanish dream starts to rot from the inside out, and the history we think we know is turned completely upside down. Wait until you see how the ultimate downfall of this global superpower was triggered not by a legendary rebellion, but by the very gold they plundered from Elizabeth's treasury. Before we reveal the bizarre economic trap Spain walked into, tell me, do you think England's ultimate revenge would come from a sword, or from a ledger? Let me know your prediction in the comments right now, because the reality is stranger than fiction. On paper, by the year 1620, Spain has won. The Protestant threat is crushed. The king in Madrid rules over London, Paris, and the entire New World. It is a golden age of absolute peace. But that gold is a poison. To keep England occupied, Spain has to station tens of thousands of expensive soldiers in London, Bristol, and York. To pay them, they flood the English markets with silver from the mines of Peru. But Spain doesn't actually make anything anymore, they just buy it. Suddenly, a loaf of bread that used to cost a copper coin now costs a silver shilling. The Spanish currency loses its value overnight. The soldiers' pay becomes worthless. In the winter of 1630, the Spanish guards in London go on strike. They refuse to patrol the freezing streets because they haven't been paid in months. And in the dark alleys of the city, The conquered English people realize their masters are finally vulnerable. The illusion of Spanish invincibility shattered. An underground network of English rebels secretly funded by Dutch merchants strikes. It begins with a whisper in the taverns of London and ends with a roar. The dock workers refuse to unload Spanish ships. The coal miners in the north flood the shafts. When the Spanish try to enforce order, they find themselves fighting a ghost army. Cobblestones rain down from London windows. Bridges are burned in the night. At the same time, the secret English native republic in the Americas launches long-range raids on Spanish silver caravans, choking the empire's supply lines. The Spanish colossus, bloated and bankrupt, begins to tear at the seams. Remember that image we started with? The golden crown of Elizabeth I, melted down into a massive, heavy cross for a cathedral in Madrid? In the year 1715, during the Great Sack of Madrid by a coalition of rebel forces, a group of English-descended soldiers breaks down the cathedral doors. They see the giant golden cross glittering in the candlelight. With ropes and crowbars, they pull the heavy gold structure crashing to the stone floor. They don't destroy it out of anger. They melt it down once more, recasting the metal into the first coins of a reborn, free English republic. The gold of the Tudor Queen was never truly lost. It was just waiting in the dark, a silent hostage, destined to eventually buy her people's freedom. We live in a world shaped by England's victory in 1588. But in this alternate timeline, a different kind of English survived, one tempered by survival, fused with indigenous cultures, and forged in the fires of a century-long occupation. But if Spain's global empire fell to its own wealth, what would have happened if France had stepped into the vacuum instead, turning the Mississippi River into the capital of the Western world?